All right, guys and girls, episode 3 on tap today. Sniper here with you as always, rejoined by our guy Magic Mike. Mike, how you doing? Nice to have back on again.
Good. How you guys doing?
I am at least good, and I'll let our special guest for this episode answer in a second. I mean, if you guys see me in many podcasts, Fight IQ, bunch of stuff, and if just in the MMA space in general, you know Sun Tzu, our guy Joe. Joe, thanks for hopping on. How you doing? You have a good night last night?
49% Derek Minner. What does that tell you?
We're going to get there.
In DraftKings. I had 60% Batista because I saw Benito Lopez look like the Pillsbury Doughboy on the scales after being off for 3.5 years. So that did not surprise me, and I got that right. My read on that fight was great, but I had Derek Minner as my most popular underdog. I played 100 lineups, and I had him in 49% of them, so I was quite pissed.
All right, before I'm gonna go nuclear in a second, but before that, if you guys are watching or listening to this, make sure and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, all that stuff. It is the Shadow Realm. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sniper MMA. Hit the like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I'm gonna talk all things MMA, not just DraftKings, which is what a few of us specialized in. I'm gonna mention Jake Paul again later this episode. So a bunch of good stuff there. Just a kind of fun Sunday night combat sports show, but we are going to start with Derek Minner. I'm not skipping the main event. I should be able to victory lap today. I called Lemos via KO, and I was only off by round 2 by a minute or so. I should be victory lapping, and I'll probably get to that in a minute. But instead, right before we started recording, we all got the ESPN alert that the Minner, I can't even say, I still can't say his last name. Somebody help me.
I'm no help here.
Yeah. Minner's whoever. The Minner fight. Okay, and Shalian. Sorry. I'm too mad. I'm still mad. So that fight is under official investigation for suspicious activity, which we all knew on fight day. I've never seen a line move $2 in a couple hours, from minus 220 to over minus 400 in terms of the odds of Minner's opponent. And the rumor was Minner was injured. Well, clearly he was, because the first exchange is he goes down holding his knee. There really wasn't anything in it. Dominic Krause saying, that was causing the fight. Bullshit, Dominic. I'm like, we're all going to call bullshit. Just stop it. Just absolutely stop it. You saw Minner's face when he was getting into the cage. Like, it wasn't right. James Krause. So, okay, before I get to Krause, on October 19th it was, the UFC sent out a memo. This is really like, they just sent out a memo saying, hey, fighters and their teams can't bet on coaches. I don't know if you've seen the screenshot. James Krause was asked about this in his Discord, which I used to be in and I left because it wasn't very valuable to me. And he was like, no, doesn't affect me. I'm not an active UFC fighter anymore. I'm sitting there, I'm like, did you read the fucking memo? That's not what it says. There's a screenshot of him saying this. And I'm like, okay, that's a little concerning. And you got this situation. So there's a few things wrong with it. First of all, this is not the first time it's happened in the UFC. It's probably bigger because this happened on U.S. soil. I think had some more eyeballs on it and more money involved. Taehyun Bang, I think he went to prison for the fight, for his fight being fixed. Like that was the whole, and it was, he was through the fight for, I think it was like $100,000, some was that payment. But this is what's interesting about this is you don't also want to just say, hey, the fix was in. Somebody probably just knew something. But if James Krause is tipping people, hey, this guy's injured, like the problem is James Krause is the coach. Whomever, inside information gets out all the time. You see line movements. Joe and I were at I don't remember which MSG card. They're all kind of blurred together. Mike, were you at Lewis and
Yes.
DC?
Yeah, that's the one I was at.
Do you remember the line moved towards Lewis? And we're like, what's going on? And we found out after the fact that Daniel Cormier threw his back out like an old man that morning. You go, oh shit! Well, that kind of explains that. And
but even with a bad back, Cormier's better than Lewis.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But stuff happens like that. My problems here are James Krause is a known bettor. It's his fighter.
Let me tell you something about
And I
James
have-
Krause, though. He put a bullseye on himself. Like
Right,
when
I
he
have
went
a hard
when he went
time-
on Ariel Helwani and said, "I make more money from betting on fights than anything else I currently have going on right now." That's like owning the gym, being a coach, his other side businesses. I mean, first of all, that's an idiotic statement to make on a widely watched program. Like to say that you make more money gambling. I mean, you keep it quiet. I mean, look, one of my favorite shows that I listen to on a weekly basis, I kind of stumbled across it. Santino DeFranco, Fight Ready. He this week, unfortunately, was his last pod. He did a pod with a guy named Brandon, who was a kind of a part-time fighter, and they have a Discord, and kind of similar to what Krause is doing, right? And DeFranco is active, just like James Krause is, and I always love to get the perspective of someone who knows the fighter as a manager. Now he's gone. They did their last podcast. I guess they're keeping the Discord open, but like Krause is still doing his show. Even after that memo that came out. And like I said, he put a bullseye on himself. Now I believe that Krause actually had anything nefarious here. I mean, I'm sure he knew he was hurt. I'm sure he knew Minner was hurt.
Big line. Well, the rumor is
Had to have known it.
He sent messages in Discord. Those screenshots I haven't seen, but that's kind of what's going around. And even if that part is not true, let's say clearly information got out and people profited from it. And depending how it got out, that's an issue. I want to light up James Krause for another reason. That is your fighter. Why the fuck is he getting in the cage with he clearly cannot defend himself. And yeah, you're gonna say money. Now, if you're gonna tell me the excuses, well, that so he can get his show money. All right, I guess so. I guess
these guys make no money, Sean.
Derek Minner's show money is very little, but then the problem is going to become, all right, then the logical step is going to be the show money. Maybe we roll that into let's bet on the finish of my opponent since I can't walk. Like it's not a big leap I'm making. It's a really small walk across a bridge that's probably why that this is happening. And aside from that, we just had TJ Dillashaw do something similar. What the fuck are these commissions doing? Like, what are we doing? Hey, are you good to fight? That guy might try and punch you. Yes. Okay, you're good? Okay, I'll see you later. And that's it. There's no what are we doing? It's such a bad look. Such a bad look. Mike, your thoughts on the whole?
Yeah, the whole Minner situation. I mean, I'm not putting it on him because if he has a torn ACL, which some people are saying it is, he's out for almost probably 2 years by the time he gets another fight, and he's not young, so you don't know how long he's out. So this could have been his last paycheck with the UFC. So I'm not going to fault him for going in there and throwing a couple kicks in a minute and getting his payday and calling it a career possibly. So I'm not going to hold that against him. The whole Krause thing. I mean, even if he's not saying that the fighter's injured, he's giving out bets every week. And if you're in that Discord, Krause is talking about his own fighters. I'm sure he's not going to go out there and tout Minner to that Discord. I was in the free Discord. I know there's one that you have to pay to subscribe to. I was never in that one. But I'm sure he had to have been hinting that you shouldn't be placing a bet on this guy because there's no other. The information got out to a lot of people. And now with sports betting legal in the U.S., people have names. So these books are going to know who placed these bets. So when we may see, I don't think Krause is the one placing bets, but maybe other fighters in the gym now. I don't know. We'll see what comes out.
Apparently, a lot of people in the gym and even the state knew. It's UFC. We're trying to grow, and I think we've gotten we're getting there, but it reminded me of boxing. Like this is what God. It felt like something boxing related, and just made my stomach turn a little bit. Aside from how much Minner exposure I had, and thankfully I didn't bet Minner straight. I only bet Daniel Rodriguez, so I felt super good about that anyway. But thankfully I didn't go 0 for 2 like that. the whole thing is just it's just a shit show. And if there is nefarious stuff going on, a $2 line movement, like everybody just ship them off to whatever Singaporean prison people who've done this in the past have been in, because I got no patience for it.
Well, did you read the type of bets that were coming in too? Were on first round finish, were on the under. I mean, like they weren't just making straight bets, and the betting didn't diminish as the line went up. People kept, tagging it. Well, you okay? So I needed to look this up while you guys were talking. Derek Minner's show money was 48,000. Okay, now you're right. That's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but if, to Mike's point, he's not going to work again for a while, I'm sure that meant a lot. That's pretty significant, right? Plus, he got $5,000 in
$24,000 on the under. What is $24,000 on his opponent via first round stoppage?
Oh, I'm sure that would have been pretty good. I mean, again, assuming you could get one, you probably have to spread that money around because there's not going to be one buck that's going to take that. But it was just luck. I want to give James Krause the benefit of the doubt, and I will say that on the Santo DeFranco podcast, he will not talk about his own fighters.
But James Krause has been silent, radio silent, which to me speaks volumes.
Well, but Minner's manager said that he was hurt. He had a knee injury. I mean, and let's go back to Dillashaw for a minute, because again, I'm just really lucky in being heavy on the side, both with betting and DFS, of these fighters who, either hurt going into the fight or get hurt in the fight, like AKA Calvin Kattar. I was pretty heavy on Calvin Kattar, but Dillashaw was the darling underdog play, and because it was a pay-per-view, there was probably more money bet on that fight. But I thought there was a quote by Cub Swanson saying that in training, Dillashaw couldn't even lift his arm up over his head. I mean, that is hard. That is harsh, right? If I had heard that, there's no way I would have played Dillashaw. No way. I mean, not against a guy like Aljamain Sterling. So I don't know. No, I mean, this whole thing is, I'm really curious to see what happens. What comes of this. But, James Krause put a target on his own back, by saying what he said on Ariel Helwani's show. And I guess we'll see what the investigation yields.
All right. We spent enough time on this shit show. Let's let me victory lap for a little bit. Amanda Lemos should be a knockout, guys. Got that one right everywhere I went around.
Good for you. Look, the only underdog that won yesterday.
Yeah. True. I'm not going to go crazy on the break. I guess the point for this podcast for that fight, what did we think of the stoppage? My thought is a little early, but not some of this craziness I've been seeing. Fine. It was a fine stoppage, a touch on the early side, but nothing I'm going to throw my hands up about. Mike, thoughts?
So I think with where this fight was in the division, so this is basically a title contender fight, or possible. And it was competitive. It was 1-1, close fight. It was only about 5 or 6 shots, I think, that landed clean, and Rodriguez wasn't dropped. I'd like to have seen them let it play out, maybe another 10 seconds. If she's still not defending, let it go. But like we've seen in these men's fights, Charles Oliveira gets knocked down every fight, gets swarmed on top, and comes back to win. Especially at these higher ranks, you got to let these guys at least kind of go out on their shield. Give them a chance, because Rodriguez now, she's probably looking 2 years before she's even in another chance at a title contention. So I don't know. It sets her career back 2 years. It's not like NFL where, there's a bad call. We'll play again next Sunday. This is a big part of her career is going to be working back to where she was before that fight.
And I think ever since
Sean, you muted.
Oh, I don't think. Oh, yeah. I was going to say ever since the the Val Priscilla catch a beating fight, which everybody agrees, the ref allowed to go on too long. It seems like, they pull the trigger really quick in female fights. I can't recall a recent female fight that they let go too long. And again, maybe, and I really don't watch much outside of UFC. I used to watch a lot of Invicta when it was on Fight Pass. But I can't recall in recent memory a female fight that they actually let go on too long. Like Joanna Jędrzejczyk, JJ used to pound the crap out of some of her fighters. I mean, like the number of significant strikes she would land. And, I think she changed Jessica Pene's face. And just beat her up. I haven't seen that in a while. So maybe they're just being overly protective of females, which I agree is a double standard. If you're going to let the male fights go on, give them a chance to come back.
Maybe we're letting the male fight. Are we letting the male fights go on too long? I think they're somewhere in the middle. I was talking to Dan Tom on a different podcast about normalizing more of the standing stoppages. And the second, to me, I reiterate, I do think it was a little early, but the second that like Marina kind of her arms go stiff and she kind of turns away, the second you're turning away and you're not facing anymore, to me, I get why Herzog instinctively jumped in. Like I totally, that's kind of for me. As soon as somebody turns, that's it. Now we're done. Sometimes I think some of the men's fights go a little bit too long, and it's this. Okay, I know they're warriors. I know it's a sport I love. Yeah, I want to see all that stuff. But now I got guys like Tony Ferguson floating around, and I feel bad. Like, what do you guys want? You got to pick one. No, I kind of think that's the other side of the coin. Grant Dawson looked really well. He really good. He out grappled an Olympic wrestler, which I know different styles of wrestling, all that stuff, but I don't know. That looked really good to me. Like Dawson's the guy. I think he's kind of the dark horse in that division. Thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, look, there was a 10-year age gap. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I didn't have shares of Marco Madsen in DFS. I mean, this was a card that was screaming for, an underdog or two. And, everybody was on Derek Minner. So I thought maybe I would get some leverage by having a few shares of Madsen. Of course, obviously Ramona Pasquale didn't work out too well for me. But yeah, it was pretty easy. I mean, Santino DeFranco, again, another reason I kind of like listening to his podcast. He said Madsen's like the strongest guy that he's ever coached, physically strong. And look, the clock was obviously ticking, him being, 38. I mean, like legitimately he has to know in the back of his head that a loss to Grant Dawson, and Grant Dawson's a good fighter, is going to, pretty much knock him totally out of contention if he was ever there to begin with. So yeah, it was very impressive by Grant Dawson. It was a very impressive fight. I always liked Grant Dawson. Here's a guy who left James Krause to go train at ATT. And obviously, he seems like he's made some improvements, and we'll see him next up when he fights someone, a little bit closer to his own age, maybe someone in the top 15, top 10, and we'll see what he can do. I mean, in the past, he's gassed. We've seen him gas. We've seen the fight that he put up against Leonardo Santos. But that was a very impressive fight, relying on his wrestling. A lot of people thought that this would be a stand-up affair, two wrestlers, kind of going at it. But like to your point, Sean, different types of wrestling, and his strategy was really good. So yeah, I was impressed with the performance.
Yeah, I think like you said, I'm excited for him to face someone in the top 15. I think he called out Tony Ferguson though, so won't be much younger if that fight happens. But he looked good. He looked aggressive, which I was hoping he wouldn't be tentative to wrestle because he's best when he's moving forward and going for takedowns. I didn't love his body language on some of the shots he ate. He never looked rocked, but it just something looked a little off. I don't know if that weight cut was tough because he did miss weight. But I don't know. I'm excited for him moving forward. And if he does get a Tony Ferguson fight, I'm not really excited for that because we've seen if guys can get Ferguson down, he's really struggling to get up. So I don't want that fight to happen.
Seems like it's a money fight, right? Like these guys, more and more, they're calling out money fights. Like, hey, I want a money fight. And obviously there's always a lot of eyes on Tony Ferguson. And, he probably says, look, at this stage of my career, he's really not much competition for me. And I could make some money and add Tony Ferguson's name, as a notch, and kind of move on from there. But you're right. Beating, the ghost of Tony Ferguson really doesn't do much for Grant Dawson's career.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of old people fighting, anyone for Frankie Edgar next week?
Well, before Frankie Edgar, I gotta we will get there, and I'm gonna. I just want to give it a beat of pause here so I can timestamp this really appropriately. Colby Covington's butt. All right, guys, let's discuss because I have to bring it up with Joe here. Pollyanna Vienna on Twitter just roasted Colby Covington. You did see this, right, Joe?
No.
Oh no! Oh, I can tell, Joe. Pollyanna Vienna basically put out a tweet. Colby asked me to put my finger in his butt. I didn't want to. He got really mad.
I didn't even know they went out.
Well, this is the thing: is Colby Covington? They basically hooked up. You know, Colby on a podcast said, yeah, they were spending time together, hooked up. He got to work on his bedroom cardio. You know, nothing but respect for the girl, and you know, they're friends, and had some fun, and that was it. All perfectly fine. It's all perfect. And this, not into it, but perfectly fine. But it's just out of left field. I thought we were kind of over this whole Colby Pollyanna thing, and she gets this crazy knockout. Which, by the way, good for her. Picked her to win.
Wow,
that.
not what I thought was going to happen.
I was thinking submission, but sure, let's do that. Let's cold cock Jen Ufray in the first 60 seconds.
I didn't realize that she was borderline hot. I must have forgotten. You know, that probably. I mean, she looked good without makeup. I mean, you know, like
you go on Twitter. I see this tweet and I go, "Oh, that's got to be a troll," because she doesn't have a check mark. Her name is spelled differently. Her profile picture doesn't look exactly like her. I'm like, that's just a troll account. And I start seeing it more and more, and I'm like, and it starts getting like, no, this is Pollyanna Vienna's account. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. So, Joe, what are your thoughts on Colby Covington's,
Well, I mean, you know, is he adventurous or is he borderline bisexual, or, you know, what is?
No, it doesn't make you.
I mean, I know it's not anything I've ever asked for, but like, I don't know, man. It just it seems like an odd request. It really does.
Aside from liking it, we get away from all that stuff. It's just, well, I guess now we had our brief moment of fun with it. I'll ask you guys seriously. What is Pollyanna just looking for eyeballs, like attention? You think she's actually mad? I guess I'll go with Mike because you actually read the tweet. Like, what do you think was behind that? Just kind of, it was out of left field.
I think she was just putting it out there, get a little pre-fight hype behind her name, and it was after. Oh, well,
I think
she should have hype after that knockout. But to Joe's point, she is very good looking, and whatever Colby's into, let him be into. He's a weird character, but I don't know. I don't know what else to think about that.
We cover all topics here.
all topics. I don't want to talk just fight recap. So, Joe, we kind of at the end. Oh, you know what? I'll leave Magdi and Rodriguez. I'm gonna leave that off of specific. Before we go on to our miscellaneous topics, anything or the other topics. You have any miscellaneous thoughts for Vegas 64 wrap up? Really, it's kind of a straightforward card. I think it was fun, plenty of finishes. Miranda Maverick, I want to see her fight somebody decent. Jake Hadley's a decent prospect. I don't know about Tamira Svidal. Let me see her fight somebody real. I'm glad the Ramona Pasquale experiment is over. Not much interest there. Otherwise, I mean, nothing. You know, Nate Mays was huge. We weighed 170 in the cage. I think I saw he rehydrated 45
I think that was a troll. He
was it?
I don't think they would allow you to put on that much weight.
How much would I saw that somebody could have been in troll. Whatever it was, regardless, he was fucking enormous.
Not with IVs anyway. I mean, I don't know how you could put on without using IVs.
He was big. That's why when I scrolled and I saw 170, I was like, I guess I get it.
He looked. I don't want to make the reference, but you know what he looked like, Sean, in that photo. Like, I don't want to make the reference because I don't want to get tripped up. But like, you know what I thought of when I saw that photo.
I'm not going there, Joe.
Yeah, but you know what I thought of.
Final thoughts for Vegas 64?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a fun, like you said, it was a fun card. You know, the ESPN Plus cards, the pacing is generally pretty good. I think that was over by 9:00, right? 8:30 even.
I mean, we got a lot of fights. The pacing sucked.
Well, no, I mean, look, think how much worse it would be if it was on regular ESPN or
I guess.
I mean,
We gotta do
again,
something with this. This is just the fight's over. Just go. Unless we're doing pay-per-view stuff, just stop it. It's driving me crazy. But I could be I could be in the minority.
Look, it is what it is. I mean, I actually really liked the 10 a.m. fight card that started at 10 a.m. I mean, you could. Yeah, well, see, you got family stuff to do. Like I'm beyond that. Like
I got shit to do.
Like, see, to me, it's just the opposite. Like I could spend because I could go to dinner with friends. Like I got things that I could do that I normally can't do if I'm sitting home watching UFC. So I really enjoyed that Saturday morning card. That was over by like mid-afternoon, early evening. I really like that. So look, it was a good card. Next week is a good card. I mean, I don't know how good the main event is going to be. I mean, people tend to walk out of Adesanya fights. I mean, he's not boring, but at least there's a story behind this matchup at least.
Yeah, we'll briefly touch on that at the end. Mike, last thoughts on Vegas 64?
I mean, I thought the pacing was all right. It was a lot of stoppages, so it's tough to keep it moving when there's that many stoppages. But I thought it was definitely a eventful card for some that wasn't supposed to be that lackluster. We got some gambling conspiracies. We had Polyana Viana. We had a lot of Chase Sherman's fight gets canceled, and apparently all of Twitter's heartbroken over it, which is something I never expected in 2022. It
was gonna be fun.
Yeah, it was gonna be fun. I was really
I wanted to see Parisian take him down and just lay on him. I have to ask you, Mike, what is your of the two Octagon girls that were present, Chrissy Blair and Vanessa Hansen? Who do you prefer?
I'll go with Chrissy Blair.
Sean?
Chrissy Blair.
So yeah, I'm on a Vanessa island here. I am totally on a Vanessa island. But
it's a good island to be stuck on.
Yeah, it's not a bad island. I mean, we got to cover all topics here in the Shadow Realm.
Exactly.
And Octagon Girls that's a very important topic. Okay, good. So you two Chrissy Blairs, one Vanessa Hansen.
More for you.
Now we'll go to a guy. We'll talk a guy who's visited the Shadow Realm too many times in his career, and we'll see if Saturday will be the last time he visits. Frankie Edgar is retiring, taking on Chris Gutierrez on a 7-fight unbeaten streak. I'll be in attendance, and I'm hoping I can convince you guys to meet me there or get whatever hookup, or hopefully I see you guys there and we could all see the final fight of Frankie Edgar, in which I kind of do think he's going to get knocked out again. Without going into the full predictions of the fight, just thoughts. Frankie Edgar, obviously trailblazer, badass, all the great stuff. Got to give him his props, and a crazy career that I'm glad he's hanging it up, but I'm a little worried about Saturday. I'm worried I'm going to see something uncomfortable, Joe.
Well, his gym is about 20 minutes from my house. And, before I was even, into MMA, like,
can you drive there and see if his knee is fucking functioning?
Yeah. It's his UFC gym. I don't know that he actually trains there. But his UFC gym, the Frankie Edgar UFC gym, is 20 minutes from my house. Before I actually got into MMA the way I'm into it now, Frankie Edgar being from New Jersey, there was a big sign on Route 46 in New Jersey that said, home of the champ, Frankie Edgar. Obviously being from New Jersey myself, living in New Jersey now, definitely kind of relate to his career. He's one of the original, OGs. I don't know if a guy like Frankie Edgar, with his skill sets could be successful, with this current crop of UFC fighters. But yeah, I think he's had a storied career. I would have liked to have seen him maybe get a Legends fight kind of going, but look, let's hope he doesn't go out too hard. And, it's a good showcase for him.
Mike, got any special Frankie Edgar memories?
Yeah, I'm excited. Definitely like you said already, he's a pioneer of the sport, but I mean, he didn't look terrible his last time out. Somehow he still got some of that magic in him. That last fight against Cheeto, he won round 1, so he wasn't total dust that night. That did look like a yeah, I was gonna say it looked like a life-changing beating. And I know his knees are an issue, but I'm just hoping he can at least get through 15 minutes, stay conscious, have a final farewell at MSG, not from being interviewed on a stool by Joe Rogan or somebody. So I'm just hoping he makes it out alive, basically.
Favorite Frankie Edgar fight? Hate to put you on the spot. Anybody got a favorite Frankie Edgar fight as we get ready to say goodbye?
I'm actually looking now on Tapology. Wow, the last fight he won was against Pedro Munoz, split decision.
Yeah, that was the last fight he was. I was thinking.
I was thinking maybe against Yair.
Yeah, those were. Well, yeah, he was
2017.
The big prospect and beat him down. No, the first thing when I think of Frankie Edgar, at least for me, is the Gray Maynard fights. Those, you want to get somebody into MMA, go watch Frankie Edgar, Gray Maynard, any of them, because they were wild.
Wow. Do you know how much he made? Well, they have it on Tapology, $2,191,000, which sounds like a lot of money, but doesn't. You're 41 years old.
Disclosed earnings. There's a lot of disclosed, you go to some of those things and disclose what was low.
Yeah. He had quite a career.
So, since Joe is here, we have to continue to talk about women's MMA. Kayla Harrison. She's going to get another $1 million soon. I know she hasn't won it yet in PFL, but she's going to. Let's just all make peace with that. But she did say that this is going to be the last time she competes in the season format of PFL. Feel like she's proved everything she needed to prove. It's going to focus on single fights, which makes me think money fight. I know Bellator just they're doing the cross promotion with Ryzen. We just talked about last episode. Maybe Bellator and PFL will cross promote, and they can do Cyborg and Kayla. But otherwise, Kayla just take your money. I guess it's hard in the body.
Dude,
maybe take a year. You need a break. Take a year off.
Well, she can't make 35, right? I don't even know if she could make 45. So what does that mean? They're going to be novelty fights. Like, honestly, look, I'm not going to minimize the effort that it takes to fight 4 times a year, but I think anyone would sign up.
I go anyway.
Yeah, anyone would sign up for 4 fights a year knowing that they're going to make that there's $1 million payday at the end of that. And they do get money for each fight that they win along the way as well. So okay, she's made $3 million, fighting in PFL with barely breaking a sweat. I think anyone would kind of sign up for that. So, again, I don't know what that means. I don't know if she could make 45, and she get some real competitors at 45. See Amanda Nunez go up to 145 and, fight Kayla Harrison coming down to 145. That would be something that would be interesting to watch. But she hasn't really broken a sweat in any of her fights. So, that's got to be. And again, I'm not diminishing the training and everything that goes on behind the scenes, but that's got to be some of the easiest $3 million that, a fighter has made in this sport.
Yeah, like you said, Frankie's, what'd you say, 2.3 million over his whole career?
2.1, yeah.
2.1. So she's made, 50% more in 3 years than he has disposed in his whole career. That's insane.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess she just doesn't want to make that cut. I'm more excited as a fan to see her try and fight somebody like Cyborg, hopefully, or Nunez.
Cyborg, is Cyborg? How old is she now? She's getting up there in age. I remember when she fought Gina Carano.
She's not Larissa Pacheco though, so it's got to be a better fight.
Yeah, true. It's got to be better.
Now you're talking women's fighting. You're kind of missing the lead here. My girl, and I've been scouting her, Erin Blanchfield, who I think actually beat Tracy Cortez in Invicta, is going to destroy Meatball Molly. at
Joe made the
MSG.
mistake of left turn into Jersey girls territory.
Well, I'm telling you, well, we're
I
talking
shouldn't
women's
know.
MMA here. We should be talking someone who's actually, going to be fighting for a title in the next couple of years. And that's Erin Blanchfield, man. She is an absolute beast in women's MMA. And I followed her in Invicta, and she was 19 years old, I think, when she fought Tracy Cortez, and it was a split decision loss. This is not going to be a good fight for Molly. And I only hope that the UK money kind of props the lineup a bit because I love Erin. I like Erin Blanchfield by finish in this fight.
Props to Molly for taking the fight, her team for getting the fight. Listen, she kind of is where she is. She's got a little bit of steam behind her. She pulls something off here. Like this is a smart move by Meatball Molly to take your shot. I get it. It's still fighting. I like Blanchfield too. But I saw the move by Molly and I went. My initial reaction when I saw it was, "Do you know what you're doing? This is you're gonna get smashed." I think I tweeted something like that. And the more I sat on it, and then we get towards the fight, I'm like, you know what? You're on this little run. It's probably pretty improbable, I think, for what she is. She's got take your shot here. A win over. You pull something off of her Blanchfield. Things are going to get real serious for Meatball Molly. Then I would argue that she could headline a card that's got Patty under her in the UK. She could headline a UK Fight Night card if she beats Erin Blanchfield, if she stops Blanchfield.
Yeah.
And it's got those highlight reel finishes. You're telling me then at that point, McCann, whoever is that much worse than Rodriguez Lemos, which we just watched a little bit, but it's not. We've seen shittier shit.
I would be shocked. Honestly, I would be shocked if McCann could beat Blanchfield. I would be very, very surprised.
Me too. I'm saying, but in terms of career, taking your shot, go.
Oh, but by the way, I don't think McCann would have a shot against Miranda Maverick, and Blanchfield just cut through Maverick like a warp knife through butter. Again, I think this is going to be a big win here. And by the way, just talking DraftKings for a minute, when was the last time you've seen a full slate of contests and no salaries? This is really weird. It's not just that they don't just have the $25. They have all the contests up and no salaries. How that is really, really weird to me. I don't think I can't recall ever seeing that before.
Yeah, I can't either.
I can't either, but I'm happy they didn't release it because 15 fights, one of these is falling out or someone's getting a late replacement, and I'm just happy they're waiting. I don't need a free square on this card. Make this as tough as possible.
It's true. All right, we had cut day. There was a big cut day in the UFC. 11 fighters got released. I'm going to read off the names, and then I'll let you guys react to them. Anybody surprises, doesn't surprise you, whatever it may be. But these fighters are all no longer with the UFC. Askar Askarov, Misha Serkinov, Louis Kache, Christoph Jatko, Nick Maximoff, Magomed Mustafayev, Charlie Ontiveros, Jesse Ronson, Cameron Van Camp, Darian Weeks, Jason Witt. By the way, that I'm getting that list. What I pulled is from MMA Fighting, so I guess if I have to credit it, I'll credit there. But the ones in that list with UFC records, I want to point out anyway. Askar Askarov 3-1.
He has to be released.
Yeah, I said we'll get to him in a second. Serkinov 6-7, Jatko 11-6, Mustafayev 3-2. The other one's about what you would expect, except Jesse Ronson 0-5 in the UFC.
Oh, by the way, Brett said that Maximov has not been released. Brett Apley.
That was and Maximov tweeted something like, "Don't believe everything you read." So
yeah, interesting.
I'm just going off. That's part of the reason why I read it. This is what MMA Fighting reported. So Askar Askarov asked to be released. So that story, and then Christoph Jatko is the one that. His fights usually are death for DFS, so I'm kind of glad to be rid of him. To me, he's a guy that he screams PFL to me. Go to the PFL, see what happens. I think he's a perfect.
Or he'll be a star in KSW. He's a Polish fighter. I mean, I could see him dominating in KSW. I hear they put on some really good shows.
What's the pay like over there?
I hear it's pretty decent. I mean, I was talking to Adam Newsom about it, and he said they really put a lot of money into their events. I mean, that's where Ariane Lipsky kind of came from was KSW. Yep. So like it's kind of on my short list. I'd like to see a KSW event at some point. But Newsom said again, I don't know definitively what the pay scales are. But look, UFC doesn't pay shit. I mean, fighters made more money in Pride than they do currently in the UFC. I mean, it's unfortunate that only a handful of fighters really can support themselves on what they make.
It's true. Anybody else now? Let's jump out to you, Mike.
Serkinov, not for his recent activity, but a few years ago, he was kind of towards the top of that division. It's real rough fall for grace for him.
Yeah, ever since Ozdemir just knocked him out with a phantom punch.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad for the guy because I know he's had some personal issues with his wife, and that seemed to maybe throw his career off track. But you're right. I mean, here's a guy who was they were talking about him as being the next champ. I mean, his fight against Krylov. I was actually on Krylov in that fight. And he's going to be the next light heavyweight champ. And you're right. He just fell hard. And he looked timid. Like he did not want to take a punch in his last fight.
He knows he can't. There's a problem of being, there's a song, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. Well, he is smart. And that is a problem because he knows he's no longer tough. Like he's just like, I can't get hit. Oh, I'm unconscious. It's rough. It's a rough game. Rough game. We'll talk about Alex Perriera in a second. Did you guys see that his sister signed with LFA? So soon we can have a brother-sister combination on the card. Alini Perriera.
She looks like she has some hands. The clip they posted.
Yeah, I don't think she's a joke. I think she can throw. She can throw. Joe, I'm giving you another women's MMA top.
I missed that memo. I did not hear that.
I need to go and look up some of her fights, and it's something.
She wasn't bad looking either, Joe. You're gonna have to go check that out.
Ouch. Okay.
And the last women's MMA thing I had is, did you see the video of Weili Zhang picking up Francis Ngannou?
Love it.
Holy shit. Good luck, Carla. Good luck.
It's going to be an interesting fight.
Gonna be something. Guy I love to hate on, and I'm going to continue to hate on because he deserves it. Kelvin Gastelum is considering a move to welterweight. I've read that story as Kelvin Gastelum has decided, hey, I'm going to try and take MMA seriously because the dude he should not be an 85. What the fuck are we doing? I know you love tacos, brother, but stop. I mean, I'm sure all these guys, go ask TJ Dillashaw when you're trying to make flyweight if you wanted a taco. No. Like, there's something to that. And I know he almost beat Izzy and all that stuff, but he's a 170er. He's that's just what he is. He's Johnny Hendricks who gave up and said, fuck it. Like, he's just Johnny Hendricks part 2, like, to me. Like, I don't know. I have issues with Gastelum, and to me, it's okay. I'm gonna try and take it seriously, and I think it's too little, too late because now you got young wolves down there. You're gonna go mess with Kamaru. You're gonna go mess with Kamaru, Colby, Hamzat, Gilbert. Kelvin's a 2-1 dog in a lot of those fights. A lot of those fights, he deserved a 2-1 dog. 5-6 years ago, Kelvin could make a run in this division. I think he's screwed now. You guys agree, disagree that Kelvin's gonna have any success at welterweight?
I don't know, man. Like, again, how old is he now? I mean, I don't know what his age is.
Let's go to the interwebs.
And he's the guy that Neil Magny beat.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Beats everybody, apparently. Kelvin Gastelum is 31.
Okay, so he's not that old. He'd be young for a heavyweight. Yeah, I mean, it's curious.
1-5 in his last 6.
I know. I mean, that's not a good luck. I mean, he's gonna need to put together a pretty pretty substantial win streak in order to kind of get into contention again. And again, I don't know that he would just not be better off. Like, there's a guy that could probably win in PFL. Like, I don't know why he wouldn't pursue that, ask for his release, and go to PFL.
You know, looking here, in hindsight, Kelvin Gastelum's career history is soft. He's got a good win over Jake Ellenberger, and you got 2015 Nate Marquardt, lost to Magny, Johnny Hendricks, Tim Kennedy in 2016, 2017 Vitor Belfort, he lost to Weidman, and 2017 Michael Bisping with one eye recently concussed, split decision win over 2018 Jacare, and then his current form. He lost to Israel, lost to Till, lost to Hermanson, beat Heinisch, lost to Whitaker, lost to Cannonier.
Yeah, losing to Till. I mean, honestly, I think Till is going to get lit up this week.
Yeah,
it's next week, right? Wait, is Till on this card? I can't even remember.
No.
It's the week after, right? He's fighting Duplessis.
Yeah, I know it's coming up. I don't know when. Yeah, it's a picture of his eye looking messed up.
It's not this week. I think it's the week after.
He's hurt. I don't know if the fight got canceled, though.
Really?
Yeah, his eyes
always hurt. He's always hurt.
No, it's still upcoming bout, 12/10, December 10th.
Oh, so okay, that's right. Okay, it's Vegas.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk about, striking on the iron side. Kelvin, good job, I guess.
Yeah, Kelvin, I mean, the best he's most famous for at this point in the last, 4 years is the loss to Izzy.
Yeah.
But he's been riding that for a while to face some top of the division guys. I don't know how he kept getting those fights, but I don't know. Moving to 170, he's in that Magny territory. He can't stand with the top five, but that 15 through 7-8 range, yeah, he could live there for a while.
TJ Dillashaw, by the way. I'm back to TJ. He still believes Aljamain Sterling is the most beatable champion in the UFC. I'm going to hold off lighting up TJ to I don't care about your fucking opinion. You do stupid shit like you did, you selfish cocksucker. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to go there. But
if he really thought that, he should have let someone take his place. And
that was a whole other tirade. But that being said, I pose the question to you guys: who is the most beatable champion in the UFC? And I know I'm springing this, so here you go. Yeah, Davison Figueiredo at 125, Aljamain Sterling at 35, Volkanovski at 45, Makhachev at 55, Edwards at 70, Adesanya at 85, Prohaska at 205, Francis Ngannou at heavyweight. Who is the most beatable current UFC champion, Joe?
I would say Edwards, just because of the lack of depth at 205. Yeah, I would say Edwards. I think Colby.
Stylistic problems for him.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Edwards.
Mike?
I'm going off the board with Carla Esparza.
Oh, shit.
But
I didn't even read those. I'm sorry. Amanda Nunes at 35, Shevchenko at 25, Esparza at women's strawweight.
Esparza for women, and it's either Edward or Cheery because he was minutes away from losing that fight.
Yeah. I
think both of those guys probably lose their next title opportunity.
I actually.
Although Jerry's rematching Glover, so
yeah, I almost want to say 205 because you got Ankalaev right there, who's good. The problem is the reason I go for it. If I just look in terms of fighters, skill set of fighters, I kind of think that it is Yuri Prohaska because he gets in these wars and battles. He's always bloody. These close fights. I think the answer is Yuri, but in terms of the division they have to compete with, who's most likely to get beat, then it's Leon because holy shit, you got Kamaru, Colby, Hamzat, Bilal's charging, Gilbert Burns, like Shavkat Rakhmonov, by the way, is coming. That's no one's gonna want to fight that motherfucker, and that's I hope he gets a fight. I think he's going to have a problem.
Almeida at 205 would be a killer.
Yep. Who do you think then is the most unbeatable UFC champions? UFC champion. Who is the most bulletproof? And thankfully, we don't have
Makhachev, no doubt. I don't see anyone beating Makhachev.
More than
on
Shevchenko
the roster. Who?
Shevchenko.
Well, Val.
There's the debate.
Yeah, I think. Look, Val did not look good in her last fight. I mean,
what about Volkanovski at 45?
I don't know. I like Volkanovski a lot. I mean,
Joe, your camera's going wild, brother. You got to tilt it down a little bit. You look like
I'm fading in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going into the background.
Yeah, I know. I purposely, have a dark motif going. I would normally do this at my desk with the, with the light that, Brett made me buy. But I'm purposely in the dark now. Yeah, that would be very interesting. Val is good. She didn't look great in her last fight. Volkanovski, who's going to beat him at 45?
No one.
Well,
you can say, Makhachev is up there. Like, there's a lot of guys, but it's what the thing with champions, they always look unbeatable until they get beaten. Although
who's going to beat Islam? Honestly, the way that he cut through Oliveira.
Chandler could catch him. I think Chandler can catch anybody. I wouldn't favor him, but someone like Chandler is the only shot.
Chandler's going to beat Poirier?
Oh, I don't even know if he gets that far. I'm just saying somebody like Chandler, I think, could catch Islam. But Volk
he's fighting Dustin though, so like that fight's coming up. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
And Shevchenko's got Manuel Ferriero coming up. That's interesting to me. I'd probably say the most unbeatable. I don't know. Do I believe in Arnold Allen at 45? The rest of the division is pretty. Ngannou up there, by the way. Who at the top of that division has he not smoked?
Well, Ngannou, only because he might, he seems to have a hard time staying healthy.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say my final answer is Makhachev, but it's tight. It's tight. Really, really, really interesting. All right, let's talk about next week. We only got a few minutes left. Let's talk about UFC 281. I'm all excited. I go to International Fight Week 276. I know I said we're talking about 281, but I'm ready. I'm going. Israel Adesanya. We got Cannonier coming at him. Going to be fun. Going to put him on skates like Elsa. New aggressive Izzy. People are leaving and booing. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching. And I said this on another podcast. I'm drunk. I'm booing. I'm yelling. I'm not happy. Now there's a fan. And people leaving was a wild experience.
By the way, did you see Knockout Therapy in Vegas? You didn't? Did you get a chance?
I didn't actually see her. No.
Oh, bummer.
We go to Madison Square Garden. Am I going to leave? Like, what do you guys? Do you think Perriera is? We're going to, we saw his kickboxing fights with Izzy. They threw. And I think Daniel Levy said it today on Twitter that if they fight in 4-ounce gloves like they did in their kickboxing matches, someone's going to go to sleep. And he's right. And God, I hope I see that. Do you think that's what we're in for? Or do you think we get another shit Izzy main event?
I think Izzy should just wrestle fuck him, honestly.
Can you imagine?
That's what I would do. Why even risk it? Wrestle fuck him.
Do you think that's what he's going to do?
I think if he's smart, he would do that.
That's not what he said.
I don't know.
Do you think he's going to wrestle fuck him? You think he could?
I think he could.
I think he could too.
Well, look. Look at what Ngannou did against Gagne. Like having some MMA wrestling against a non-wrestler, like goes a long way. So
can you? That's crazy.
So where are your seats, Sean? Where are your seats?
Lower bowl somewhere.
Okay. Oh, did you buy the package? Did you buy the VIP package?
No,
Oh, okay.
that I didn't do.
So what I want to do is I want to do the VIP package for the Annex in Vegas. I hear that's a bomb.
If we talk to me about it for like next summer sometime.
Yeah,
I'll be down. All right, moving on. I mean, we won't break down the whole fight. We talk about Frankie Edgar. I mean, everybody. The people's main event is Poirier Chandler, right? Like this should be. I wish it was 5 rounds. God, I wish it was 5 rounds.
Yeah, that's the fight I'm looking most forward to outside of Frankie. But
my girl Erin.
And Erin.
Yeah, of course it is.
I just have a bad feeling that Chandler catches him, and I'm a big Dustin guy, but I just have a suspicion.
Don't even say that.
You see how Chandler looks? You see those photos of Chandler? He looks pretty ripped.
How quickly does Carla lose her belt? Inside of 2 rounds?
Yep.
I think Brett is betting Carla. I don't know. Unless he was just
unless
it was just typical Brett Apley sarcasm.
I can't ever it's not ever, but it's getting harder to tell when he's trolling and not, which is I guess a sign of a good troll.
Yeah.
He walks a fine line. Dan Hooker back at 55 where he belongs. Thank God. Please.
Very winnable fight for Dan Hooker.
I know, but don't go to 45 ever again.
How much damage though is he's taking so much damage?
That's the question of the fight. Speaking of damage, down in the prelims is Dominic Reyes.
Saw that.
And he's got another tough fight. He's
How
lost.
The mighty have fallen.
John Jones, Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prohaska. Now Ryan Spann. We're going to find out what both these guys really are.
How the mighty have fallen.
Do you like the matchmaking there, guys, or do you think you should have got somebody else other than Spann?
All right, look, I think you got to show that you belong, man.
Yeah, I think it's a good fight for him because, he's 3 of the top 5 guys, so they had to give him someone to keep him up in that rank. So it's a good kind of passing of the guard fight if Spann wins it.
Do we know what the changing gears again? Do we know what the record is for the oldest combined age of a women's MMA fight? Have we ever like anybody got any ideas of some couple old ones going at it?
Home and Durandamy maybe? I don't know.
I gotta look up because both Karolina Kowalkiewicz and Silvana Juarez Gomez are 37 years old, and they're getting in the cage on Saturday in the UFC.
Well, how old? KK still looks pretty hot. How old was Durandamy when she fought home? That's the card where that was the main event where she got hit twice after the bell. And I remember they asked Dana White. That was like the initial card they did at Barclays, and they asked Dana White what was his favorite part of that card. He said the flight home.
Thanks. I didn't pay money for that or anything, Dana. You bastard.
Okay, let's see. Holly Holm.
Let's see. I think right now not as old. Age of fight. Durandamy was 32. Holm was 35.
Okay.
I think we had history on Saturday, guys.
I didn't realize KK was that. I saw KK when she made her debut in Orlando. She made it. Talk about that suit. That was a super card. Like, and it no one. I don't think anyone would have thought what a super card that was. Ngannou was on that card. I
remember. I've seen
what a
that.
super
you
card.
posted that many times, but it was a good one.
And by the way, that I got to go there courtesy of the UFC because I won a contest on DraftKings, and it was called Hanging Out with Frank, and it was like a $3 contest, and the winner got to go to this card in Orlando and hang out with Frank Mir. And that was just awesome. I mean, it was absolutely awesome. He was such a nice guy. Invited me and my buddy to go to like a cigar bar with him and his wife afterwards, and we sat next to him. During the fights, it was just awesome. I mean, what a great card that was.
It's always good to hear that fighters are good people outside of the interviews.
Everything I know about the UFC seems that the fighters are very, approachable.
I've said publicly a few times. I think the last time I was in Vegas, Trey Sherman was nice. Julie Marquez was giving Jeff Molina shit that nobody knew who he was, but it was pretty funny. Like those guys were good dudes. offhand, the only dickhead, like is it Joseph Benavidez. Do you remember in Long Island, Joe? Benavidez and Dennis Bermudez were pulling the name switch on girls like around. It was fucking.
I don't remember. Oh, that was at Barclays, right?
No, that was at Nassau Veterans, I think.
I didn't go to that. I didn't go there.
You didn't go to that one?
No.
Was it Barclays? I can't remember.
That's where you and I went. You and I were at Barclays.
Oh no, that one was. I'm thinking of a different card. But yeah, they were pulling the name switch on girls. That was pretty funny.
So I think, Sean, what you got to do is, and again, I don't expect that we're going to do this today, but you got to have like a lightning round. Fuck, marry, kill. A lightning round. And it would have to be like UFC fighters or octagon girls. And just do an FMK lightning round, like boom, 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 boom. I think you kind of close each show with that because that is the shadow realm.
You know what? For you, Joe, I'm gonna pull one out of the bag real quick.
Real quick. We got some fighters on this card. I'm gonna go UFC ranking so people know this is just Joe's style. This is totally not PC. So we're gonna do. Mike, pick a number 1 through 15. 7.
Right, I'm going to find the 7th ranked fighter in the strawweight, flyweight, and bantamweight women's divisions. I'm going to do fuck, marry, kill. Mm-hmm. You ready?
Yep.
Well, Amanda Lemos.
Kill.
Vivian, you're such a dick. Vivian Araujo.
Ooh.
Penny Kianzad.
Okay, I'm going to go with Penny Kianzad. I'm going to go with fuck. Araujo, I'll go with fuck.
No, you don't get to pick. That's not how this works. You got to do one of each. This is not how this works.
I know. I don't see. You haven't given me one marry contender yet.
Well, that's it. You got 7. That's what makes the game hard, Joe.
I know. I would say probably Penny would be the marry.
Yeah, I agree because I don't think Araujo speaks great English. Yeah. I don't think I could do that.
And that's real important.
I don't probably feel.
I'm telling you, this is good. You should close every show this way. A quick FMK.
I'll give you a hard one. Ready? We're going to go 10, 11, 12 in the flyweight division.
Okay.
And Mike, you have to answer first because you were quiet that round.
Yeah,
perfect.
I'm married too, so I don't hear the shit. Casey O'Neill, Macy Barber, Erin Blanchfield.
I'll marry Erin. Who were the other two? It was Casey and
Macy Barber, and Casey O'Neill.
Oh, that's real easy. You made it too easy.
You think?
I think because I would. Macy Barber just aggravates me. So that would be the.
I was gonna say kill Macy. Casey seems a little crazy, but
Casey's hot though.
Yeah, she's crazy. I like it.
Casey on Twitter is good people. She's cool. And I heard that, and I met her at the at UFC X. She was really nice. She was like, everyone was online for like the really popular fighters, and I'm over there meeting Casey O'Neill because
nice.
Or that was John did that. John Jury, the guy, and I got over there. So he told me about that it wasn't me. I should rephrase that. He said that people were everyone was lining up for other people.
Seems like a good dude. Have you met him?
I got over there late one day and I met Casey. Casey was there the second day. I got there for like an hour because I was too busy gambling because I'm not a good person.
I have to say, of all the Twitter guys that I've met in person, I don't think I've actually legitimately run into one asshole at all yet. Have you? One? Okay, I won't ask you after we go off the air.
Yeah, I'll ask you a second.
I want to know who. But like, I have not run into really anyone who's been just an out and out dick. Like everybody's been kind of cool.
Maybe not an out and out dick. Just not my cup of tea.
Okay, fair enough.
With that, thank you, nice gentlemen, for
anytime, man.
For jumping on. Do the usual like, comment, subscribe to this video, to this podcast, and then also all of these too. Mike on Twitter is at Consortium DFS. God, I wish you would make it the same. It confuses me every time. And Joe is at Sun Tzu. Mike does DFS stuff over a Fantasy Alarm. Check that out. Thank you guys both for hopping on. Any last
Stay
words
on,
before we
Mike.
get out of
I
here?
want to find out who we're talking about here.
Joe's extracurriculars. That's it. For the
I'll
official
tell you.
episode, you can badger these guys on Twitter about the scuttlebutt afterwards. Thanks for joining us. See you guys next time.
Take care.
Thanks.
Peace.